Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to the exciting Vaughn Manor, where it's a hall of adventure. It's a hall of adventure once again. I don't know how this happened, because we're supposed to be unhauling books, not hauling books. But you know, I don't know. I don't know how these things happen, Roger. But a few things did show up at the manor over the past few weeks that I should show you. So I'll show you the comic books first because I always do that, and then I have a few other books that have shown up here. So comic books first. Okay, first thing is Conan the Barbarian Omnibus number 8. This is number 8, right? Yeah, this is number 8. Marvel Comics have been pumping out the Conan omnibuses because they're losing the license to Conan, and so they can only put these out for so long. I think the last ones I saw coming out were in January. I could be wrong, but I think that's what I saw. And this is number 8. This is from the 80s, has stories from the 80s, mostly written by Christopher Priest, I believe. So yeah, Conan the Barbarian, Volume 8. Yeah, Conan 195 to 213. I'm not sure they're going to be able to print the entire run of Conan before they lose the license, but we'll see. We'll see if they manage it. I hope so. It would be nice to have a full set. So there you go. And a couple other things came in. Doctor Strange, Infinity War, Doctor Strange. This is Doctor Strange stories from the early 90s. So we've got Doctor Strange, Epic Collection. Another Epic Collection, this is Moon Knight. Moon Knight, this is Butcher's Moon. Moon Knight. I rather like Moon Knight, actually. I enjoy this character. Not so much the television show. I wasn't a fan, but the comic book character I rather like. So Moon Knight, Volume 3 of the Epic Collections. So there's that. Not too many comics have come in recently. We're going to have to do something about that, Roger. A few other things have come in. First of all, my Fancy Pants Easton Press edition of Earth Abides has come in. This is by George R. Stewart. I will talk about this sometime in the near future because this was an excellent book and important in the history of science fiction. So yeah, I got my Fancy Pants Earth Abides has arrived, and I'll just set you right up here, Earth Abides, for now. So there goes Earth Abides. I got a few other things that have shown up. I picked this up when I picked up a bunch of vintage science fiction, even though it's a book about World War One, a World War One sea battle. This is Zeebrugge from Barry Pitt. I don't know if I'm pronouncing Zeebrugge correctly. Who knows? I very rarely pronounce anything correctly, but cool cover and a tragic sea battle, from what I remember. Next, this one's pretty cool, actually. I picked this up a while ago when I saw it. This is The Worm Ouroboros. The Worm Ouroboros from E.R. Edison, which was a classic fantasy. I believe this was released in 1922 from E.R. Edison. And I read this years ago. I was just, 16 or something like that. And I picked up a different paperback copy, a much cooler looking paperback copy than this one. Although this Fantasy Masterworks one is pretty cool. But I remember I really enjoyed it. And I don't know what happened to that old paperback copy, but here's a new one. Yeah, E.R. Edison, The Worm Ouroboros. So this is a cool one. So next, I got a bunch of kind of independently published books. A lot of times people will email me and say, hey, I wrote a book. Do you want to read my book? And I'll say, sure, I'll read your book. And then I get their book. I don't know when I'm going to be reading some of these books, but I will read them eventually. Eventually I'll get to them. So I have a few of those. Now the first couple I've shown already, but they're my friends who wrote these, so I'll show them again. And this one is Poking Holes by Juan Valencia from the channel Plagued by Visions. This just came out. I'm really looking forward to this, so I probably will read this sooner rather than later. Yeah, much anticipated this one, Poking Holes by Juan Valencia. He is an excellent writer, so it'll be cool to read a collection of his fiction. And then I've got a book of poetry, dark passages, moments of transition from the great Shawn D. Standfast. This one came in too. I also showed this one, but like I said, he's a friend, so I'll show his book again. Dark passages, moments of transition, a book of poetry, which I don't read too much of. I probably should read more poetry. Probably. I just, haven't. And so I've got a few more books like that. This next one, from A.G. Abbiati. He actually sent me this book. A.J. Abbiati. This is Fells Hollow. Fells Hollow. And he actually sent me this, so that was very kind of him. Thank you, my friend, for sending me this book. It's a fantasy. I think it's kind of a sword and sorcery fantasy kind of thing. I don't know. I haven't read it yet, but Fells Hollow. A.G. Abbiati. So there's that. And there's this guy, Doug Brode. He wrote this book, The Ship. Said, you want to read this book? I said, sure. And here it is, The Ship, which, it's not a mystery what this book is about. It's obviously some sort of, psychological thriller or maybe a book about lawyers. I don't know. It's a mystery, but, it's very vague, the cover to this. But here you go. It's The Ship by Doug Brode. It's probably going to be great. So here you go, The Ship. And there's a sequel to this that is out now too. So you can get The Ship and The Ship 2, I think. Is it The Ship 2? I don't know. But this one is The Ship by Doug Brode. There you go. The Ship. Great book about lawyers. So there's that. Next. So I've been told I don't read enough plays. And I don't. I don't read a lot of poetry. I don't read a lot of plays. And I've been told I should read more of that stuff, mostly by Frank Morlock. And so I decided to get Frank Morlock's translation. He does translations of plays. And this is, I'm going to mispronounce this, Vidocq. Vidocq and the Lemonade Girl and Other Plays of Murder and Vengeance. Vidocq. That's, I think. Anyway, Vidocq and Other Plays. Vidocq the Lemonade Girl and Other Plays of Murder and Vengeance. It's early. It's early in the morning, guys. I could barely speak. But yeah, this is a book of plays that was translated by Frank Morlock. And these plays were originally by Jules Dornay, Paul Malin, Xavier Montepin, Louis. See, this was a bad idea to read. I'm just going to stop now because I'm going to mispronounce everything. But the plays were translated by Frank Morlock. So thank you, Frank, for translating all these awesome plays. He's actually got a few volumes like this of translated plays. So yeah, I picked this one up. A bunch of names I can't pronounce. There you go. And this is another person who contacted me to see if I wanted to read his book. His book is a fantasy book. This is The Condemned, Book 1 of Ages of Ashia by Robert Bone. And this book is about this guy that wakes up and he's a skeleton. He wakes up and he's like an animated skeleton. And he can't remember how he got that way. That would suck. And it's an intriguing situation for a fantasy novel. You wake up, you're a skeleton, there's this guy wakes up in this situation. What happens to him? So yeah, and apparently a lot happens to him because this is not a short book. How long is this book? This book is 523 pages and it's only book 1. So this fella here, Baldane has many adventures, apparently, trying to get unskeletonized. I'm assuming that's what he's doing. He at least wants to find out how he arrived at this condition, I would assume. So yeah, The Condemned, Book 1, The Ages of Ashia by Robert Bone. Just so you know what's going on if you ever wake up as a skeleton. That would suck. Anyway, so I got one more thing. I always save the best thing for last. And this thing is pretty awesome. This is the original Arkham House edition of Demons by Daylight by Ramsay Campbell. So I picked up the paperback edition of this, and I liked it quite a bit. I picked up the first printing paperback edition of this. And this is the original edition from Arkham House, Demons by Daylight by Ramsay Campbell. There he is, that kind of wild hipster Ramsay Campbell there. And this was published in 1973 from Arkham House. And I thought, you know, yeah, I'm going to get this book. So, Demons by Daylight. My collection is going to be running more towards this kind of thing in the future. So I will probably have fewer Halls of Adventure, but they will have cooler stuff. So, Demons by Daylight by Ramsay Campbell, the original Arkham House edition. It's in really nice condition. I don't think it's ever been read. The spine is really tight. It's a beautiful copy of Demons by Daylight by Ramsay Campbell. Again, I really enjoyed this collection of short stories. I like Ramsay Campbell quite a bit and intend to read a lot more of his fiction, but yeah, this was a cool thing to get a hold of. Demons by Daylight by Ramsay Campbell from Arkham House 1973. That's awesome. Yeah, this is really cool. So aren't you glad you stuck around to the end to see Demons by Daylight by Ramsay Campbell? Awesome stuff. Okay, that was Halls of Adventure for today. I'm going to go drink coffee now. I really need some coffee because it's like 4:30 in the morning or something. And it's a very early time to do adventurous hauls. Okay, my friends, I will catch you next time.